Coach Garver here. Hey, listen, I'm pretty down and out today. That is me on the upper left-hand corner with the afro hair. Yes, look at that hair. It's terrible looking. I was really young. So, all right. Hey, here's the bottom line. I'm really sick today, and there's no way I could make it in. My wife was extremely ill on Monday, and I've got it now, and I'm going to it's not good. But it's so critical that we have this class. I can't miss another class. And so the key objective today is to keep the class going, and we start up running fast and furiously on Monday, and you need today's class to get going. I did want to talk to you about TechSmith really quickly and give you an update. Most of you have actually gotten feedback files from me already I've watched it and I give you a feedback file. There's still a few of them that I haven't gotten to. TechSmith is saying that they're going to be done today, and at some point I'm going to get a file from them. They're going to pick their winners, they're going to kind of give their grades, and we're going to get together on the back end and talk about who wins and all that stuff. I will say this. In general, I think we did a very good job. I'm proud of you guys, and all I was asking for was your best effort, and some of you gave me your best effort and a whole heck of a lot more, and I take this as a personal favor, and so thank you for your hard work. We will talk a lot more about this coming up, and as soon as the winners are selected, we will be coming. But remember, it's there were some incredible presentations. There are a few of them that I'm telling you, I can't even believe what people put forth. So the main concern for me was putting forth your best effort, right? And if I felt that I had your best effort, I got your back, right? Now, if that didn't happen, well, of course we got issues, but for the most part, we just nailed it, I think, all right? So, but we'll be in touch about that. So teamwork. This picture is a little fuzzy, but hey, I'm doing it on the fly. Teamwork is, believe it or not, going to be even more important as we move forward. And one of the things that we were going to do when I came to class today, or at least on Monday, was going to be have everybody get into their teams. And if your team is doing great, identify those things that are working and how can we take it to the next level. If your team is not working great, I encourage you to talk about it. Open it up. Now's the time to do it, because the second half of the semester is going to really decide who's out of the final. So what I would tell you to do, don't do it today during class, but over the next 5 days, get your team together, talk about what's working, what's not working, and how do you fix it. You got to give some feedback to your team, and if there's a team member who's not pulling their weight or it's not working right, let them know. You got to let them know, because teamwork will win this thing. All right, so we just finished qualitative research. For the most part, we're done, and we're now moving to quantitative research. And quantitative research is really all about numbers, okay? And so now we're going to be doing a ton with numbers and analyzing with statistics and all those things. We're going to be using SPSS, and today the number one goal is that D and is going to be getting you up and running on SPSS. Everybody has a license to it through the virtual lab. Okay, so you first, as I sent out in the emails over a week ago, you need to have the virtual lab on your own computer. If you have the virtual lab on your own computer, you can access SPSS 24/7. Okay, now if you don't have a computer, we've got a computer lab, and I'll bring that each and every day for you, and I know Dee's brought the computer lab where you can get SPSS. SPSS is the number one tool in statistics. It's one that most companies use. We will do the statistics in SPSS, and then we will take those numbers from SPSS, we will take them into Excel, and we will graph the data in Excel. This is very common practice. I think Excel is an excellent tool to graph, and that's where we'll be doing most of the graphing. And so today, we're going to teach you how to access SPSS through the virtual lab. We're going to take you through the ABCs of SPSS, like how do you get the database and all that basic stuff, how do you run the statistics, and then I'm also going to teach you, maybe most importantly, is how do we take the data into Excel so that you can start graphing. Today's podcast were on graphing, and I will tell you they're maybe the most important podcast of the entire class. I don't care what field you go into, you're going to be making all kinds of graphs in your career. Get good at it. Spend time on it. It is an art, and presentations then, it's all about that. How do we make really, really cool graphs? I will tell you too that when we get down to the SPSS team competitions, if you've got mistakes in your graph, if you're not doing best practices, boom, you're done. You're out, right? So we're going to practice graphs for the next month. So what I would say is know it now, win the competitions, get out of the final. All right, so this is on mid-craft year production. This is beer, by the way. I thought that would get your attention. Those are, can you see? Anyhow, graphing is going to be one of the things that we are going to have to get really good at in this class. So, right now, I am assuming that SPSS is up and running for at least most of you. Now what we're going to do is we are going to go into Blackboard, and I'm going to show you where all the data is and all that stuff and all the SPSS competitions that you're going to need for the next month. Oh, and let's talk about, before we do that though, let's talk about teamwork and really what I think is a teamwork, a way to win for the next month's competitions. Then we're not going to be having clicker competitions for the next month. What you're going to be doing is there's a database that is in Blackboard, and every competition that you're going to have is already up there. Yes, you heard me right. The data's up there, the competitions are up there, so if you wanted to get ahead and get all this done ahead of time and so that it's perfect, you can do that, okay? The process that I would take would be really simple. Before you go read, or before you go watch the podcast, I'd read the competition. Yes, you heard me right. So on Monday there's a competition on customer satisfaction and performance, and I'd go read the competition, see what you're up against, see what you're going to have to do. Then I would go watch the podcasts on how to do it, right? And I'm going to give you the details, I start conceptually, here's customer satisfaction performance, and then I walk you through SPSS on how to actually do it, okay? At the end of that time, you're ready to go. And so remember, watch the podcast, but pay particular attention to how to do it. So it's not just memorizing it, you got to actually do this stuff, right? And then what I would do is now you've watched the podcast, I'd go back to the competition and read the competition again. What's expected? What are you going to have to turn in? And then I've also given you what I would call a cheat sheet. And this cheat sheet kind of says click here, click there, click here, click there. And it's a one-page document that is kind of designed to help you think through the critical issues. Now, somebody right now is saying, great, I'll read the cheat sheet and not have to even watch the podcast. Well, that won't work, trust me. And in fact, I wrote the competitions, I wrote the cheat sheet, so that won't happen. But if you watch the podcasts and have a good grasp on it, the cheat sheet should make it super simple and easy to do well in this. So here's where the teamwork thing comes in, right? You come to class, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off and I'll say, hey, here's 2 minutes of guidance on this project, go. And you're going to have the entire hour, if you would. You'll have an hour to do it. And so if you come to class and you're unsure of what the heck to do and your team is scattered and nobody's really thought about this thing before they came to class, you're lost, you're rolled, it ain't going to happen. Game over, okay? But if each of you come to class, you're ready to go and you kind of know what you need to do, then it's going to be really easy to do it. And teamwork can help you get through this thing. But you got to come prepared because that hour is going to go quick. Now, what we're going to do the last 10 to 15 minutes of the class, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you instant feedback on how I would do it. Okay? So in other words, 15 minutes left of class, you got to turn it into me. Okay? And then once everything is turned into me, then I'm going to show you how I did it in SPSS and then what my graphs look like and what would be considered good graphs, and it would be kind of like the winning, right? So I'm going to kind of give you the expectations up front. You then go do it, you turn it in, and then I'm going to give you, in a way, the right answers. Now, like every competition we have, you got to have the right answers, right? So, but then what happens when 3/4 of the class has the right answers, and you will? Then we're going to kind of compete on who's most presentation Zen-like. How do you get competitive advantage? You see where this is going, right? But you got to have the right answers first and foremost, and then we'll separate the winners based on presentation Zen and what those graphs look like. Now, if you do the analysis right, but you make all the mistakes that I'm telling you not to do in today's podcast, well then, we're going to have some issues with those too, and that will severely knock you down. So it's kind of in a way practicing great graphs. But all right, my friends, let's do this. Let me take you into Blackboard and let me show you where all this stuff is and kind of what it looks like. Oh, I just kind of told you that. Yeah, okay, here it is. There's me again. Yeah, that is exactly how I feel today. All right, Blackboard. Okay, so here's Blackboard, and this is Garver's version of Blackboard, so it may look a little bit different from you. But if you go into course materials here and click on that, there's a whole bunch of stuff that we have in there. Now, one of the first things that you're going to see is this pizza survey. And the pizza survey is the survey that we're using. So if you wanted to look at what that looks like, the actual survey that collected this actual data, that pizza survey would show that to you. Okay? I would look at it to just get a general feel of how the questions were asked and all that stuff. Then this pizza data for SPSS, that is going to be the database with all of the quantitative data in, and you're going to be analyzing pizza from the pizza database. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to download that database. Oh, for some reason that didn't work. Anyhow, download that database, and what I would recommend that you do is download it to a desktop, whatever machine you're working on. Save that to the desktop. Now, if you're working with the virtual lab like most of you are, you may actually have to save it in the virtual lab. I'm not exactly sure about that. I don't work on the virtual lab, but I think you may actually have to save it on the desktop of the virtual lab or something like that where you can access it. Okay, so under course materials we have the actual survey so you can see how the data was gathered. I would take a quick look at that. And then pizza data, SPSS, that is your database. For all of the competitions moving forward, we're going to use the same database. Okay, so we're not switching. It's going to be the same database. In fact, your exam, we're going to use the same database for the exam too. So get used to the database and what it looks like. Now, we come all the way down here, and then you're going to see cheat sheet for customer satisfaction analysis performance, and that'll be the cheat sheet for the first competition, which is next Monday. Cheat sheet for customer satisfaction importance, improvement, Van Westendorp, and conjoint analysis. So those are the next 5 presentations or competitions, and they are in order. Now, but below the cheat sheets, you will see the SPSS competition, right? So now this is the actual competition for SPSS performance. This is the actual competition for importance, improvement. Van Westendorp is VW, and conjoint. Now, we were going to be doing this graphing competition today, but you saw the pumpkin picture, and that's why we're not having. So today we're actually going to be just learning all that stuff. So that's where the competitions are. That's where the cheat sheets are. You know the database that we're going to be using, and now it's time to get started. All right, here's what I want you to do now. At this point in time, I want you to open up the pizza database, save it to your desktop. Maybe you got to do it in the virtual lab, but there's your database, and this is the one, again, the one we're going to use. And I need you to open that file up. Once you have it saved, then we need to open that file up in SPSS. So D, why don't you pause me here for a second and let everybody open up this file. And as soon as everybody's ready, we'll kind of walk through how we play with that file. Thanks, guys. Okay, we're back at it now. So you can see right here on my desktop, that's the file. And so I'm going to go to SPSS and open that file. Now, there's a couple different ways you can do it. I believe if you even just click on the file, it'll open up, but I'm going to go through SPSS. Now, I will say this, I do not use a virtual lab for SPSS, so mine is going to be a little bit different, and they're always changing versions and things like this, so there's going to be some minor differences. We're going to have to deal with that, okay? So I'm going to go down here, and I'm going to open up SPSS, and there it goes, IBM SPSS Statistics, and this is a great software program too, by the way, just so you know. All right, and then I'm going to go here to, and by the way, this is going to be very similar, right, to everything we else. We see File up there, and I'm going to go to Open Data. Okay, so File, Open Data, and then I put mine on the desktop, and there it is. Let's see, Pizza Data, and it's named Pizza Data for Students, all three methods, and that's the one that we're going to be working with. So I highlight that, and then I go down here, and I hit Open. Okay, so D, I want you to pause the video here for a second and then let everybody make sure that everybody can find that, everybody can open it, and your screen should look something like this. Hit the pause button, D. Alright, sports fans, I'm back again. So here's SPSS, and there are basically two views that we have. We have what we call a variable view and a data view. The variable view shows us all the different variables in there. So this is the name of the variable, it's the type of the variable, it's the width, it's a label that we have, okay, and here's all the values to those labels. And it also talks about the measure. Now the measure is very similar to what the podcast on Monday was about. Is it nominal? Is it interval? Is it ratio? Is it ordinal type of data? So for example, if we click here, you can see nominal, ordinal, and scale. And scale is the same thing as interval data, by the way. Okay, so that kind of tells you the type of data that it is. And then the role, by the way, you see input. And what that role will really tell you is it's kind of like independent variables are inputs and dependent variables are outputs. Okay? Same thing, we might call them slightly different things. Okay, now if we look at, that's the variable view down here, at least on mine. Now if I switch that, and now we're looking at the data view, and what I would look at here is that we have rows, right? So, and rows are people who took our survey, and that's really the look at this. So row 1, so password 55, that was the password, that's a person, right? And 215 is a different person, and 280, right? And so their responses for 280 go along here. Now the columns which we have here, those are their answers to survey questions, or these would be variables. Okay, so you can see, you know, overall satisfaction with pizza 1, overall satisfaction with pizza 2, okay? And most of these satisfaction scores are on a 1 to 10 scale. Okay, just so you know. So for example, what we asked is we start off with give us your favorite pizza place 1, 2, 3, and 4, which is going to be like Domino's, Hungry Howie's, Papa John's, and Little Caesars. What would you give them as a score out of 1 to 10? So 1 got a 7, 2 got a 6, 3 got a 5, and 4, the lowest score, got a 4. It's got to be Little Caesars, because look at that, somebody gave him a 2. It's got to be Little Caesars pizza. So anyhow, so this really looks like an Excel schedule, but the key thing is that the people are on the rows, those are your people, and the survey questions are available are on the columns. D, what I want you to do is give everybody a couple minutes to get familiar with the columns in pizza and just get familiar with those variables, and we'll start back up in 2 minutes. Pause. Okay, all right, sports fans. So now that we've got our database open and you know where the people are and all the variables and all that stuff, one of the things that we're going to have to do is we're going to have to analyze the data. So 95% of the time we're going to be going up to this button right here. See, analyze right there. So we're going to click on that. Okay. Now I will tell you that we're going to scratch the surface, if you will, the tip of the iceberg, so to speak, on statistics. We're going to just do the basics. Yeah, you heard me. We're going to just do the basics in this class. And so a lot of the time we're going to go to analyze to do this, and descriptive statistics. Most of the stuff that we're going to be doing is going to be descriptive statistics, either frequencies or descriptive statistics. Okay? Now, the only time that we're not going to do that will be to go to let's see, what are we doing here? Importance. When we look at what's important in customer satisfaction, we're actually going to be correlating, and we're going to use bivariate correlations to do that. But all of the other times, we're going to be going to analyze, descriptives, and frequency. So let's start doing that right now. So this is how this works. So we'll go to frequencies, okay? And what we're going to learn is that the variables or the survey questions are over here, and you can see where I'm kind of highlighting it, okay? So these are all the survey questions, and we can just scroll down, and there's a bunch of them in there, okay? And we're going to go down all the way at the end, and you see this one that says gender, okay? And there's gender, and the label is what is your gender. Let's take that and highlight it, and then click the arrow. Okay. Now, whenever we take a variable from the left and we put it into right, that means that we're about to analyze that data. What happens if we grab the wrong one? Well, just click it back. Oh, we want it after all. Oh, click it back. And so and that's how we can do it. Oh, and let's examine that we wanted to look at a bunch of them at the same time. I hold the shift down, I highlight 5 of them, and they all come over. We can do all at the same time. A big time saver. So when we're doing lots of analysis, it's not uncommon for me to grab 10, 20 variables at one time when we're running the same analysis. Let's just make it simple though. We're going to go to gender. What is your gender? Okay. And most of the time we're just going to run the defaults, and I'm going to run the defaults here. Now frequencies are very good if we want to know counts and or percentages of the population. So gender, it is demographic data or nominal data, if you will. It's grouping variable, and limited statistics, right? So all we can do with this is kind of get like what percentage of the population is male, what percentage is female. So we hit OK, and that'll tell us. So now what we see is exactly that, right? So you'll see over in this column, so we had 191. N is the 191, the sample size, okay? And then you come down here, gender, what is your gender? And you see female and you see male. Now, here's what we have. The frequency or the actual count is that we had 88 females in our sample, and we had 103 males. The total sample size is 191. Then what we're going to really focus in, for most of the time, we're going to want this valid percent. Now, you'll see that valid percent and percent are the exact same number. 99% of the time, we're going to want to focus on valid percents here. So what this tells me is that 46, this column right here, 46.1% of the population is female, and 53.9% of the population is male, okay? And generally speaking, when we report demographic kind of features of a sample, that's what we want to know, okay? We want to be telling them the valid percents. We don't want to be telling them 88, the actual counts, because then you make them do the math. Make it easy on them, report the valid percents. Okay, let's do another one here. We're going to go back to analyze. We're going to go to descriptives, and now we're going to go to descriptive statistics. And whenever we want to calculate means or averages, we'll go to descriptives. Okay, so for example, if we wanted to find out the score of Domino's pizza, let's do this. We'll show you these Domino scores. This is like that overall question. Now I'm just going to do one. Domino's. We want to know what the mean satisfaction score is, or the average. We'll put them into descriptives, and then we'll hit OK. And now what you see is exactly that. So you see NPS Domino's, we had 191. N is always sample size. The minimum someone gave on a 1 to 10 scale was 1. The maximum given was 10. And the mean here is a 6.45 out of 10. That's the average satisfaction score. And the standard deviation is 2.2. We'll talk more about standard deviation later on, but that's where you find it. So what I'd like you to do now is I'd like you to go to Analyze, right? We're going to do this again. I want you to go to Analyze, and I go to Descriptives, and first I want you to go to Frequencies and find what the gender, and I want you to calculate what I did, and then I want you to go to Descriptives and get the very first NPS for Domino and come up with that mean. Go ahead and do that, and then D, once you feel like the class is kind of ready to go, we'll come back and we'll do the next step. Okay, we're ready to move on. So now the next thing that we're going to do is oftentimes what we're going to do, so we run statistics, we get the actual numbers, and now what we want to do is we want to take that information and we want to go into Excel and we want to graph the data. Oops, I need to get, that's your stuff. Let's get new stuff in there. All right, so we have a new workbook up, all right? So that's a blank workbook. And what I want to do is I want to take this data and I want to take it into Excel. So how I do that is I come back here and I highlight this table, and then I'm going to copy the table and I'm going to paste it into Excel. I'm going to highlight the table, I'm going to right click, I right click, and then I hit copy. Okay, and now here's the tricky part, so please pay attention. I'm going to go into Excel, and there it is. I'm going to right click and I'm going to paste. It's that easy. Now, I think when you're working on the virtual lab, you might have to use Excel within the virtual lab. So everything might need to be contained in the virtual lab. But now what I want you to do is I want you to get your SPSS output, and I want you to do the output, and then I want you to copy the output into Excel like I did. Okay, so, and by the way, here's how I do it. I always kind of use a new sheet. So the demographic data is I'm going to put in the first one, and I'm going to come down here and I'm going to insert another sheet, and then I'm going to go down and I'm going to get the descriptive statistics on the NPS dominoes. I'm going to highlight that. There, we copied. I'm going to go into the other sheet and I'm going to right click and I'm going to paste, and now that data is in is in Excel, and we're going to get ready to graph that information. So what I want, this will probably take them about 3 minutes. Let them go do it, and then we'll start this back up. So hit the pause button now. All right, my friends, we're back, and so now what I want to work with you on is how to actually graph this data. Now, this sheet is the male and female sheet, and remember I said that we're only interested in the valid percent data. So we've got this table with all these numbers in it, and we're really only interested in 2 of them. So let's go ahead, and what I'm going to do is manipulate the data from this table and kind of do some graphing in it. All right, so I'm going to take the male female and we'll put that over here. And then what I want is those valid percents. So I'm going to copy and paste that here, and that's it. It's that easy. And now what I'm going to do is, and I don't want to get too detailed on how to graph because I think most of you guys know how to graph, but we're going to, let's actually just go ahead and graph this one. All right, so now we're going to use male, female, that's the data, and now we're going to go to insert, let me see, where am I? This is embarrassing, I haven't, there, charts. So we're going to go to charts, and this is demographic data, and it's very common that we would use like a pie chart for this, and we don't have too many of them. I think a pie chart would work good, so we'll go here. All right, and I think, you know, if you go back to Presentation Zen, it says, hey, stick to simple. Stick to just getting the point across. 3D is actually not simple. I like that one right there. There we go. And so now that's our graph. And now, of course, what we're going to do is we're going to kind of make this thing look better. And so that's one way to do it. Okay, and then we'd go do it. Let me show you another way that I want to actually show you how to do this too. And I actually use this method most of the time. So I copy this data that I want, and I actually go into PowerPoint. All right, and there's that nice picture, Garv. So I'm going to go to a new slide, and we're going to, on this new slide, we're going to insert charts, and we're going to do the PowerPoint pie chart. We're going to do the same thing. And what it's doing is that then it's built right into, my graph is built right into PowerPoint, and if I need to change numbers, I do it right in PowerPoint, and it saves the data. So now what it does is PowerPoint charts will give you kind of this stuff here. It'll give you almost like a chart already. Yes, let's see, it'll give you a chart already right there. So that's the chart that you kind of inherit, and then what we're going to do is we're going to just go into that data and change things around. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put there, I'm going to copy my data in, paste, right? And so male, female, and then there were 4 columns or 4 rows, and we only have 2, so we take this right there. Aha! There we go. So now it's only going to look at that. And remember too, it's not sales that we're after. This was actual percentages, right? So we can do that. So then we'll kind of look down here. We'll go back to PowerPoint, and you can see that all those changes that we made are right in PowerPoint. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to work right in PowerPoint, and we're going to do some changes to this graph to make it look a lot better. So first things first, I'm going to size it. Okay. So let's get this bad boy looking decent. Okay. I never like to use like the standard graph, so I'm going to highlight that. I'm going to get rid of that, right? And we can use the sidebar here, but what I want to do now is I want to format, or I want to add data labels. So I right on the graph, I'm going to click on it. I'm going to add data labels. Okay, and there we go. And we're going to kind of make this look really good and so forth. And then we're going to be turning this kind of stuff into me. So what I want you to do now is to look at that data and pull it into PowerPoint. And I would practice, I'm not going to do it now, but I would practice getting good at doing charts and graphs in PowerPoint with all of those things, ascending order, all that stuff. Actually get good at it, practice in there, so that when next week comes and we're competing, you're ready to go. So D, at this point in time, if you would pause me and let them manipulate those numbers, create graphs, and we should be good to go. Alright, welcome back. So here's the bottom line. We've got SPSS running, right? So here's kind of where we're at, and here's where we're moving forward. You know how to access SPSS from the virtual lab. You know where the pizza data is in Blackboard. You know where the survey is, so you can go look at that. You know where the competitions are. You know the cheat sheets. We're ready to go. You also know the format of class, right? And one other thing too, that you know how to get Excel or SPSS. You know how to let me see. You know how to take that into Excel, okay? And then you know how to do really cool graphs in Excel, okay? And now you know that teamwork is going to be critically important for the SPSS competitions, and the deliverable will be analysis, like a PowerPoint file or a digital file or whatever mediums that you want, and it'll have the right analysis, and you'll have the right graphs showing the right analysis. And of course you're looking for a competitive advantage, because when everybody's got the right analysis, then I'm going to look to see who's got the best presentations, then who's got the best competitive advantage on theirs, and that may decide the winner. Okay, but anyhow, you know the process. You'll have the whole hour to do it, and the last 10 to 15 minutes I will give you, in a way, here's the right answer. Alright, so you'll get that instant feedback from Garver. I told you what to do and how to do it. You go do it, and then at the end I'll give you the feedback, and you'll kind of know. Alright, my friends, I think I'm done. D, let's give them the quiz. What do you think? Alright, you guys, I feel bad that I'm not here, but you don't want me there. Good luck on the quiz. I'll see you on Monday.